Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Football Podcast, and it's still named the Football Podcast, even after recent developments. We're all here, and we're talking football, and we're talking lots of football. There are 6 games to predict this week, and there were 3 to review from last week. There's the news, there's all of the football goings-on here in this podcast. Before we get started, and while I've got your attention, if I could just ask you to subscribe while you're here, why not click the button and subscribe? It's an amazing thing to do. So, here we go. This is CookieCast, the Football Podcast.
Recording in progress.
There you go. Recording in progress. That can only mean one thing. What that thing is, I'm sure Paul will be able to tell us.
Well, Andrew, I'll certainly do my best. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is your weekly update and your weekly fill of football, I suppose. Although we don't have anyone on the podcast called Phil, so that's interesting. Yes, we're going to discuss everything Middlesbrough, Hull, Nottingham Forest, maybe even a little FA Cup flavouring in this week's pod. Stu there, shaking his head. Obviously, the best teams got knocked out of the FA Cup in the third round, so
correct.
So that's where we're going to go with that one. But yes, welcome along to the Football Podcast, which, as we talk, it is the not to date the podcast, of course, but it is the 2nd of February. So as we said on previous podcasts, we were actually going to call a press conference to name the new name of the Football Podcast today. And sadly, we're going to have to stick with the Football Podcast.
I think we are going to have to stick with the Football Podcast purely because I've had it highlighted to me what you can shorten the Washington football team's new name to.
Yep.
Nobody thought that one through, did they?
So you know, like when the other teams are like, "Go Pack Go" or things like that, you can't really tell them to go Commando either, can you? Like that just sounds all kind of wrong.
Well, there's the other one that's popped up, which I don't think we can legally say. So yes, we will probably stick with the Football Podcast.
Very sensible, very sensible. But it's been a week. There's been some football, so shall we have a little chat about what happened in the football?
We can do that. We certainly can, because we've got a jam-packed episode ahead of us. Mostly because there's an absolute shed load of games happening this week. I was like, there's a cup. There's a cup, so that must mean some sort of break. No. As is often pointed out to me in my own home, I was wrong. So, first game of the week from last week that we did some predicting on was Hull City going up against Swansea City, the Battle of the Cities. Stu.
Yes.
What went on in the Battle of the Cities?
Well, I'm pleased to report, in fact elated to report, that Hull City's winning run continues, having run out 2-0 winners at home against Swansea. Eves for Paul scored after 5 minutes, and podcast favourite. So I'm smelling some points in the distance. Mr. Keane Lewis Potter scored on 17 minutes, and then apparently nobody could be asked to do anything for the rest of the game because nothing happened. It was the first win for the new manager. Spoke about it briefly last week. He did get installed, but that's 3 on the bounce that they've won now, so long may that continue.
So, I feel that Stu may have been having a little dig there. And just putting it out there because apparently some of us didn't pick any goal scorers this week. However, some of us did put 1-0 to Hull City, so that claws it back. I, in fact, put 1-0 to Hull City, but I didn't get a goal scorer, so just 1 point for me. Now, I know what you're thinking. Andy, you've gone in a weird order there. That seems very strange. I'm just doing it differently this week for no apparent reason. Stuart and Matt, a draw ain't going to get you any of them lovely, lovely prediction points. But putting Lewis Potter down will. So a point apiece, gentlemen.
Come on.
Anybody want to cast their mind back to last week when Paul was like, oh, come on, stop taking the piss out of me. Screw you, Andy. Screw you. I'm going to do it right this week. Hull City 2-0. Eves to score. So that's 3 points.
No, he didn't.
So Paul got as many points as us three put together. It's alright, it can't last. It can't last. Middlesbrough took on Coventry City. Paul, how did Middlesbrough fare against Coventry City?
I didn't really catch the first half, so I can't talk about that, but I believe in the second half they were under the cosh for a bit, but managed to hold out. And then managed to get a goal from Andraz Sporar to sneak a 1-0 win.
1-0 win indeed. One of us is going to be disappointed. And in this instance, it is Matthew. A 1-1 draw and Crooks to score. Oh, who was the goal scorer?
Sporar.
So a 1-1 draw and Crooks to score. I'm afraid, Matt, it is 0 points. I had Borough down to win, but not quite in the right way. It's just a point there. I did, however, put Sporar down. Stu joins me very much in that camp with Borough to win, Sporar to score. 2 points for you, sir. And then Paul put Borough 1-0 down. So 2 points. Didn't get the goal scorer. Now then, I'm not saying that some of us need an absolute blinder for Nottingham Forest, but we could really do with Nottingham Forest bringing those points back. So Matt, how did Nottingham Forest fare against Cardiff City?
I think, unfortunately for everybody, probably, they didn't bring the points home to Nottingham in the literal kind of footballing sense. And I very much doubt they brought the points home in the podcast point scoring sense either. I think I think the result has been one of them ones that's been building up for a while after the kind of peak of the Derby match, but previous kind of performances to that, there'd been a lot of kind of talk of them not performing and not kind of being at the same level as what they were before. I think kind of Sunday's match was the kind of culmination of that. So they ended up losing 2-1 in Cardiff, and really when you score your only goal after 94 minutes, it's effectively a 2-0 loss really. You've just kind of pulled one back right at the end by somehow. So Jordan Hugill, and who's a new signing for them, apparently being as their striker left. Post match I think. Davies for them as well, and then Davis for Forest.
Yes, I had an enjoyable time writing down the names going. But and I was like, oh no, there is a spelling difference Which
or at half time he just switched his shirt and just taken
Yeah.
the hoodie off.
yeah. You predicted correctly. Unfortunately, not with the scores. You did predict that the Forest game did absolutely nothing for us in a points perspective. Everybody had Forest down to win. Weirdly, everybody apart from me had the correct score, but the wrong team. Nobody got any of the goal scorers, so it's big, fat, juicy bagels all round. That leaves us.
Why no one had the Riddle Andrew? Because that was Cardiff's first win since November the 27th.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, not to hammer it home too much there, Matt. Sorry about that, but yeah, that's it's quite bad.
Yeah.
It's gonna get worse, Matt. I'm afraid. I'm gonna do it like a plaster though. You came last this week with 1 point. Myself and Stu tied with 3 points. But as I said at the start, the big middle finger came out. And with 5 points and winning the week, take a bow, the podcast host himself, Paul Williams, dominating the week. 5 points. And there you go. That's last week's football predictions. Where to now?
Well, it's probably best to do next week's games, and then we'll do the wrap up of what's happened this week in football, because this week we had the close of the January transfer window. Middlesbrough themselves didn't do any business particularly, but I believe that Hull signed a couple of players, and I know that Nottingham Forest did, so we'll have that to cover. But we'll do next week's games, and then we'll come back and do a wrap-up of what's happened in football this week, and then these lovely people can go on with their lives as if nothing had happened.
We might need to drop some names in though for the predictions, because, like you said, Hull got some new players.
I tell you what, okay, that makes sense. And we'll do a bit of both then. So we'll do like this week in the transfer roundup or something like that. Because, like you say, that might cover us for football predictions for the next week.
I really hope you've got that pen ready for these, Andy. I bet you can. There's one in particular that as soon as he signed, I thought, I know a man who's not going to like that.
Jones.
So,
yeah. Smith has signed.
Well, I'll see if you can pick out which one it is. So, Hull signed permanently. Longman his move has been made permanent after impressing during his loan spell from Brighton. So that's a standard one. We're all good. As we've discussed, Hull played Swansea last week, and not only did they leave the points at the MKM Stadium, they decided to drop off old Liam Walsh. So he hit the post in that game against us last weekend, and next weekend will be playing for us. And there was a loan signing until the end of the season of a striker called Marcus Force from Brentford, seemingly being challenged to get a bit of game time and a couple of goals by his boss down there. And interestingly, Brentford failed to sign KLP during the window, so that could have been a disaster for podcast predicting. But yeah, we also signed a striker from Fenerbahce on loan until the end of the season, and his name, I am about to butcher in pronunciation, is Alaya Sayadmanesh. Look how thrilled Andy is, everyone.
I can only presume that he's been signed but doesn't ever score any goals.
Oh no, he's a striker, so you know, this could be fun if he actually does start to score.
Can I make a suggestion? That for the book's purposes, we just call him Elia.
I like that.
He's just going down as Low knee. Is there?
The man on loan.
New fella. New lad.
New boy.
So that is pretty much the roundup of business for Hull anyway.
Yeah, I think Forest was a strange one because we kind of touched on it before about Lyle Taylor going out on loan, and then podcast banker for goal scorer Lewis Grabban went, and we're not quite sure what's happened, but he's out for 6 weeks. So then, hence mad scramble to, after adding a striker at the start of the transfer window, to add another striker. And they bought Sam Surridge from Stoke, which was a strange one considering he was bought by Stoke in the summer, and apparently hasn't settled well there. I mean, who am I to disparage my hometown? But who knows why someone wouldn't settle in Stoke particularly well? But so then, so was open to a move, was apparently heading to Cardiff to replace Surridge, to replace Keitha Moore, but then Forest swooped in with a $2 million permanent deal, and so he came up. And then a player that I don't really know much about, was playing in the French league at Dijon, Jonathan Panzer, who's an England under-21 defender. But I think it kind of fits in with this recruitment policy that they have. It's gone very moneyball at Forest at the moment. And the general kind of thing is, unless it's free or on a short-term contract, they don't sign you unless you're under 26. And both these signings kind of fit into that kind of model, as it were.
Well, unless your name's Steve Cook.
I know, but that short-term contract and cheap.
Okay.
That's the policy on his signing. So,
he's got to be the oldest 30-year-old I think in existence.
It's one of them players that you're like, oh right, yeah, I've seen him. He's just there. Oh, I've been playing for. It's when people say they're like, you kind of like other kind of sports, and you're like, oh, that player's 26. You're like, no, they've been around for 10 years, and then you're like, yeah, but they started playing when they were 18. And you're like, oh, that makes a little bit more sense.
It's kind of like the sort of, it's almost like it's the Rooney principle in it. So obviously, he got his debut with Everton when he was 16, and then obviously he retired 2 years ago when he was at Derby or something like that. And he's always been quite strange because he was born the year before me, so he's only 8 months older than me. Yeah, to look at him, you'd think he's in his 40s or something like that, because he just looks like he's had a tough paper round. We'll put it that way. But he always looked like he was a 40-year-old playing in a 20-year-old's body or something like that.
Yeah,
because he always looked older than he was. But yeah.
Yeah, he did have a tough paper round though, and then he just had all of his youth reinstalled, didn't he? So it was fine.
It's now gently disappearing again. I noticed that was well worth the money.
Maybe it was hanging around with all those old ladies that sort of looked off. Oh, wait a minute.
Anyway,
that's not libelous. That's been proved.
One bit of transfer news that apparently, I don't know the truth in it, but apparently Middlesbrough knocked back two separate bids for Jed Spence from Tottenham. There's a bit of a strange on that one, because if they'd have actually accepted the bids and then obviously he'd have signed, they'd have been in a bit of a difficult position there, because they wouldn't have been able to register him to play, because obviously he's already played for for Borough and for Forest this season. So I'd imagine that if they'd have actually completed the deal for him, it would have been a case where they'd have had to sign him and then loan him either back to Borough or keep him on loan at Forest. But I don't know the logistics of that deal.
That's something it's beginning to sound like an NFL, NBA kind of deal there. That he is signing for Middlesbrough, for Tottenham from Middlesbrough via Forest, and then going back to Forest on loan.
Yeah, But yeah, apparently the stories that I'd read was something like they'd put in a bid that was short of Middlesbrough's valuation, which apparently was in the realm of £15 million, which is a little steep in my estimation, but it seems to be the flavour of the month at the minute. So yeah, go for it.
Well, considering Collins sat there crowing away, saying that he's the reason that he's turned his career around because he sat down and had a chat. I'm sure he sat there. Jed Spence sat there and thought, "Aye, mate, yeah, don't worry, you'll be sat by Christmas." Kind of, and just this kind of like, oh yeah, because I sat down and had a chat with him and said, "You're going to be playing in the non-league kind of thing." Yeah, that's why you're not in a job anymore.
Ooh, but although potentially not for long, because he's come out and said that he'd more than happily take on the Sunderland manager's position until the end of the season.
Of course you would.
Yes, Colin, I bet you would, mate. Jesus.
Is that all as far as transfer news is concerned?
I would say so, yes.
Yeah.
Then, at this point in time, before we move on to any sort of predicting, I'm going to suggest a small break. Teeny tiny break. Some people won't even notice it. That's how small it is. When we come back, we're going to be talking next week's games, and there is a shed load of them to go through. Oh, hang on to your hats there. And we'll be talking this week in football. So don't go changing. We'll be right back.
Recording in progress.
And just like that, they were back. So, what are we doing now? Where are we? What are we doing? Who am I?
Getting our crystal balls out.
We have 6 games to predict.
Well, if there's 6 games to predict, we best get cracking. Now then, first to worst. First game is a secret podcast derby. And for anybody that can write in to the podcast and let us know why that is, will win a prize provided by myself. That prize will be many, many pence worth of prize. Manchester United, not a team we often talk about, especially in a prediction sense. Middlesbrough, however, but they're in the same sentence this week. Manchester United are taking on Middlesbrough. I believe this is what's known as FA Cup. Goodness. So, Paul, you will go last. Stu.
Okay. Yep, it's FA Cup, which, we all know what the FA stands for. It's the same thing Hull got out of their third round game. So, it's going to be Manchester United 2, Middlesbrough 0. And I'm assuming that it'll be rotating the team somewhat, so I've gone with people straight off the subs bench into the starting 11 of Jesse Lingard and Juan Mata.
So you see, I made that mistake. I wrote down my goal scorers from just the team. I was like, yeah, there we go. And then it was like, and I did the book days ago, and it was only getting close to the time. I was like, probably not gonna play first team football. Balls. So
I think there'll be some. I just don't think it'll be the full 11. I think it'll be about 70%, and then.
Well, you can look forward to who I've selected, and you can then laugh heartily at the chance of them actually seeing the pitch, actually being at the game. Matt?
I've gone 2-1 to Manchester United. And I've gone with Rashford and McTominay for Man United. because I think Rashford is desperately trying to find some form, so I think they'll give him a run out. And McTominay seems to be a favourite. And Spurra for Borough.
Interestingly enough,
12 million.
Interestingly enough, you've nearly got my exact prediction. So I wasn't, I also went with 2-1. I also went with Spurra to score for Middlesbrough. I also went with Rashford and that other guy that begins with R. Paul?
Well, I do think he will play.
Really?
And I also think he will score. But I've gone for a 1-1 draw and then Man United to win on penalties.
So 1-1 in 90 minutes and a
penalty win for Man United.
I'll give you a
because I believe we're at the point again where there'll be no replays. It might be up until a certain point, but I don't think there's replays for the fourth round. I do need to check that though.
Goal scorers.
Ronaldo.
Love it.
And I think he'll get his first start, so I will again, for probably the third or fourth game in a row, go for Balogun to score.
We will come back to Ronaldo in the This Week in Football section. Just to tease a little bit of something there. Moving swiftly on to Hull City. And they take on the PNE, Preston North End. Stu, you will pick last. I'm going to double back round. Paul.
Yeah, hang on. I'm still just trying to look through to see if it is all settled on the day. I'll presume it is. Sorry, was this the whole game? Against Preston. Hull at home?
Yep.
2-1 Hull.
Love it.
We'll go for Keane Lewis Potter to score again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to need Stu to help me with the name of that guy that just signed.
Which one? Walsh?
No.
Syed Manesh?
Just put Elia and we'll just go from there.
Done. And your Preston.
Yeah, it probably would help if I had a name for that, wouldn't it? Oh, there we are. Come on. Come on! Oh, where have you gone? Oh, good lord. I couldn't find it. There we are. For Preston. Ched Evans.
Ooh. Sticking to a theme, are we, Paul?
Matt.
Say nothing.
Matt, what have you got for Hull versus Preston?
I've also gone 2-1. And I've gone with Honeyman and Lewis Potter just to stick with the old boys. And Reese for Preston.
I've gone 1-0 to Hull. And as I was the only person who didn't pick him last time and got burnt by this, I have also gone with Lewis Potter. Stu.
I am in almost full agreement with you, Andy, in the sense of I have gone for Hull to win 1-0. Yes, I am feeling alright before you ask. And I will go for the man to score his first goal for the club, and I will go for Force.
Just because you're a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, God.
Can you imagine if they then bring in like goal music for him and they just like, or when he walks out onto the pitch, they'll start playing like the Imperial Deathmatch thing or whatever.
Well, the headlines of tweets.
Yeah, it practically writes itself. Nottingham Forest.
I really, really hope it doesn't.
Oh, it does. Nottingham Forest versus Leicester City. Leicester City. I had to make a goal scorer correction. Because obviously the 60-man a season can't score goals when he's not on the pitch. So I had to correct that to 2-0 Nottingham Forest. With a replacement of Zinkernagel. But Johnson was always there. So, there you go. Stu.
I find that the cup will throw at people who don't normally score. So, I've gone for Forest 1, Leicester 2. And for Forest, I have actually got Jed Spence. Because he doesn't score very many, it seems. And for Leicester, I've got Albrighton and Daka.
Lovely stuff. Paul.
0-1. Iheanacho.
Eat your nacho.
Oh, yeah. I love a slice of nachos. Matt.
I've gone. You guys are very way optimistic. I've gone for 4-1 to Leicester.
Scorers.
So I've gone Surridge for Forest. I might get a run out to kind of get him going. Against Leicester. Then I've just gone because I think Leicester are probably out to try and win it again. So Vardy 2.
Yep.
Tielemans.
Who was that?
Madison.
Who was that? Sorry.
Tielemans. Thielemans.
And
Madison.
Now, in previous weeks, like last week, that would have been it. But no, it's a 6-game week. The games just kept on coming. I nearly ran out of pen writing all these games down. We're back to talk about everybody's favourite football club, Derby County, going up against Hull City. So, I'm going first. Screw it. A 0-2. And I've gone with all the men. The honey men and the long men. Or the man. Matt.
I have gone with a 1-1 draw, just to kind of, I don't want to like jinx it.
Good man.
6-pointer. Keep it tight. Of course, whenever I predict anything with Derby, unfortunately his name comes up because it just turns up to rinse you all the time. I've gone with Lawrence to score for Derby because at this rate he's going to be the only decent player they've got left, kind of the way they're going. And Longman to score for Hull.
Longman. Paul.
I haven't had one of these in a while, so I'm going to throw it out now. 0-0.
Goals. Stu.
I'm in agreement with Matt scoreline wise. I've gone 1-1. I've gone KLP for Hull. And it's all boys rule, innit? So Curtis Davis to score for Derby. And he'll celebrate because he's a filthy bastard.
Blackburn Rovers are going up against Nottingham Forest. Ooh. Finish with you, Stu. Let's start with you.
I've gone for Blackburn 1, Forest 2.
Love it. Goal scorers.
So, purely, this is just so you can write this in the book, Andy. The Blackburn goal scorer, I believe, may be called something very similar to Zifuk. As in what the. Yep, and so for Forest, I would have had, the $60 million man, whatever he might be now known as. So I'm going to have to change that one. So I'll go for Zinkernagel for 1. And why not throw Yates in there? Because I know you boys love it when Yates scores. So
I was also in the camp of Forest winning this one. A 0-2. Now this is one of those where I'd already picked all of my goal scorers, and then I had to change at last minute the previous game, not realising I already had Johnson and Zinkernagel to score in this game. So I'm just leaving it as is. Apparently they're getting a lot of goals this week. Paul.
Very interested in this game.
Apologies. Sadly, I'm going for a 1-0 Blackburn win.
Wow. Didn't even give him a goal in the room. Whew. Presume you've already also gone for Zifuk.
No, I have not. I've gone fresh off the back of his gallivantations to South America. It's everyone's favourite Ben Brereton, no known last name. It's the old boy rule as well, isn't it? So,
does it apply though if his name's changed since?
hey, that's a good point. Actually, yes, it doesn't apply because technically no one called Brereton Diaz ever played for Forest. So,
The sell-on clause in his contract says he did.
hey, I'll tell you something. I wonder if Blackburn try and sort of get around that by just going, well, technically, we haven't sold anyone called Ben Brereton, so
quote airtight, because they knew it was a possibility at the time.
Matt.
I have gone for a 2-1 Blackburn win.
Really?
And I've gone with the old boy rule as well. I've gone with Ben Brereton Diaz to score 1. And then Ben Brereton Diaz to score the second one.
I put Brereton down for the first and Diaz down for the second.
He's going to keep his Forest shirt on this week, and Davis is going to score the Forest goal.
Wonderful stuff. We finish up the week with the QPR. Queen's Park Rangers going up against the mighty Borough. I think Middlesbrough have got this one sewn up. It's 2-0 to Middlesbrough. Sporar. And I haven't heard his name mentioned in a little while, other than when I roll it out. So I was a bit like, but I've gone with Crooks. Until somebody tells me that he doesn't play for Middlesbrough anymore.
I'm fine with that.
Stu, did I by any chance steal your prediction?
No. But the name did get wheeled out. But unfortunately for Paul, I have gone for QPR 2, Middlesbrough 1.
Oof.
And the Middlesbrough goal, I have Crooks down.
Lovely stuff.
I think QPR will drop a Willock, and I think that the old boy rule will be in full force again when Uncle Albert turns up to collect his pension.
Fantastic. Matt?
My prediction is almost identical to Stu's. It's a 2-1 QPR win, with Crooks to score for Middlesbrough, and Willock to score for QPR, and Dykes to get the other QPR one.
Paul.
2-2.
Desmond. Goal scorers.
Dykes seems to be on a bit of a roll at the minute, so I'll go for Dykes to get 1. I feel like I haven't heard Charlie Austin's name for a while.
Steve
For
Austin.
him. Yeah, Stone Cold Steve. For the Borough, we'll go for. I don't think I've picked Crooks to score this season, and he's got loads. So I'll go for Crooks, and I'll go for in from the cold, Duncan Watmore to score.
That's it. It's done. The final stroke of the pen has gone across the page. The click has clicked, and the book is officially closed on this week's predictions. Now, Little Birdie told me that absolutely nothing has gone on in the football world in the last week, so I guess we're just wrapping it up there then, yeah?
Pretty much.
Sweet.
Yeah, lovely.
Lovely to see you, boys. I'll catch you later. Bye.
Well, there's nothing's gone on that we can probably talk about, maybe.
I've got something to talk about.
Probably best to stay clear of certain things that haven't just happened in the football world, sadly. We won't talk about that. Go on, Andy. What's your thing you'd like to bring to the table?
I saw recently that apparently Ronaldo is backing a football game that is apparently going to challenge FIFA. He also, funnily enough, seems to be the main star of said football game.
Then in his eyes, then it's the most realistic game ever made because he is the main star in actual football, surely. Is it called Sue?
I'm just. I feel I should have probably got the information of the.
Oh man, like I didn't mind that celebration thing. I get that it's kind of like part of his thing, and if he's just trying to create a massive brand for himself. But when one of my 6-year-old boys walks through the door from school and jumps and flicks his arms behind his back and shouts "Sue" at me, no, now it is wrong. Go away. I do not want this every time he comes through the door from school. Thank you very much.
It's a particular problem at school at the moment. The kids score a tap in and they all run and do it, and I'm like, I mean, come on, lads, you know.
UFL game. Cristiano Ronaldo named as game ambassador. That was announced.
What's he supposed to stand for? Like Ultimate Football League or something like that?
I can.
Is it a simulator of that Champions League thing that never happened when they were going to off as the Super League or whatever it was?
Football legend.
Oh dear.
The Fair to Play game will arrive this year for basically every console under the sun.
It'll be a very cheap game at £75 or something like that, so you know.
UFL, the football game looking to take on the genre dominance of FIFA, has revealed its first gameplay. It'll be ready in 2022 after 6 years of development, and as a major statement of intent by signing on superstar Cristiano Ronaldo as its cover star. I'm still not seeing what the UFL stands for. It is just everywhere as UFL.
The problem is when it's going to be, you can play as Cristiano Ronaldo, but managing everything, it's going to be Frank Lampard or you know, who's on the other team, Mr. Mossy, or you know.
Is it going to be the equivalent of Pro Evo when you had Ryan Gills and Robbie Scafacci and Ponjols in goal and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. Great times. Rudy von Nistelrooy.
I was going all the way back to international superstar soccer, so that's Paul showing his youth there.
I'm gonna have to send to the group the other names that have apparently signed on, because I will have no chance. So one of you might want to pick up the thing here. There you go. Paul, you love pronouncing a good.
There's a lot of big names there.
Fair enough. So aside from Ronaldo, UFL has brought on Kevin De Bruyne, Romelu Lukaku, Roberto Firmino and Alexander Zinchenko as ambassadors, while West Ham United, Sporting Club de Portugal, Shakhtar Donetsk, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Besiktas, Monaco, Celtic, Rangers and #FC, the biggest of the big boys, have become partner clubs. More are set to be announced.
Obviously, I keep sort of pointing out to Paul that apparently EA and FIFA still haven't come to an agreement over the rights for the FIFA game, and that's looking to be possibly in jeopardy at this point in time. They cannot agree because FIFA want $1 billion every 4 years, and conversation I had with Paul recently is that EA aren't making $1 billion off the sale of the games if you work it on what they made off I think when we were looking at it was like the 2020 version of FIFA only made 256 million. I had another conversation with somebody. I had another conversation with somebody else. I was like, that won't include the loot crate things, the FUT stuff. So I'm sure they probably do make in the region of $1 billion a time. But who wants to pay $1 billion these days? But yeah, that was my small thing that I'd seen in the last week. Other news.
Just to go back to what Paul was saying before about the FA Cup replays thing, there is no replays from this point on. So it is just extra time, half an hour of extra time, and then straight to penners.
I didn't think that was going to be the case. Obviously, it doesn't directly involve any of our three teams, but obviously, Hartlepool United did get through to the fourth round of the cup, and they've been drawn away at Crystal Palace. So, fingers crossed they might be able to get through that one. If they do, it'll be the furthest they've ever got in the competition. Never made it past the fourth round before, so good luck to Pools. Fingers crossed.
Speaking of Hartlepool as well, it was announced that Sky Sports are going to be showing the semi-finals of the Papa John's Trophy.
Yep, the Pizza Cup, as my dad has affectionately dubbed it this week.
It feels like a long time to wait, though, considering that the game's not until the 9th of March.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be a quick turnaround, because usually they do it where they do that and then the final's not too long after that. So fingers crossed again if they can get through that. They'll be at Wembley for the final against either Sutton United or Wigan. Mm-hmm. So if they do go there, if they do manage to get to the final, I dare say, touch wood, I will be having a trip to Wembley. So
small matter of beating Rotherham first, don't they?
Yeah, just beat the team that's top of League One or close to the top of League One. No biggie. To be honest, they've been doing it all season. They've already knocked out a Championship club from the FA Cup this season. So what's one more club that's in a higher division? Man, watch out, Crystal Palace.
And then there's the stuff that's north of the border, isn't there?
Yes, not very good. But Wraith Rovers have signed a striker by the name of David Goodwillie. Excellent name, of course. But off the back of that, I think it's the captain of the ladies' team has asked to leave the club or has resigned from a position of not even allegations. It was actually proven that he had previously been convicted. Well, was it convicted?
No, not in criminal court. He settled in civil court, didn't he? But it was something like £100,000. So nothing says innocent until you've rinsed your bank account. Quite like £100,000 fine.
The club sponsor as well has taken their name off the shirt as well.
Doesn't surprise me. It's not great, and you do wonder if certain things go through club officials' heads when they make certain signings. But
the two things I'd seen on it today was that Nicola Sturgeon, everybody's favourite Scottish minister, has even made a statement on it, saying that they maybe need to take another look at it. But then it was just the brashness of the club statement that was like, we've taken this decision for footballing reasons. Really? No shit, because you didn't think about anything else that went with that, did you? So they're sure he'll be a good addition to the squad, and he has a proven goal-scoring record.
Yeah, sad to end on an unsavoury note, but that does appear to be the case for this week.
I was going to quickly edit in, just a kind of slightly lighter note. It must be something in the water in the northeast, because apparently a Hartlepool fan that went to the playoff final in Bristol has been fined £1,000 for punching a horse. So yeah, kind of keeping the northeast kind of thing. They don't win much, but they win the horse punching stakes. So just to kind of,
Oh God!
Hey,
Paul Mincher, Hartlepool horse puncher.
Brilliant. I mean, if there is a better way to end a podcast, I do not know what it is. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking me and these wonderful people through the sometimes murky waters of the football world. And we will see you next week for reviewing the games, all 6 of them, and previewing more games. There we go. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and we shall see you then. So there you go. What do you think of that? A bumper edition of the football podcast. All those games to talk about and predict. Big thank you for listening, for watching, for however you're getting this podcast. However you get it, it's amazing that you do. Whilst I've got you though, can I ask you to please consider subscribing? You can also check out our website, which has got links for our social media, and it's got links for emailing us. You can get in touch with us just by clicking a button. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.